Okay, so I've done the bulk of my modelling now. You can see I've added a bit more than I had in the last video, but all of these things have been made using techniques that I've shown you already. So all of this detail you can see with these slats and joists and beams there, and the posts, they're all made really simply using extrusions. So you should be able to do all of those things. And what I'm going to do now is go back to the floor plan and make a camera view so I can set that rendering while I then set up the rest of my sheet. So you can go to the Quick Access toolbar or the View tab under 3D Views to find the camera tool. And then a little tip I can give you about creating cameras is that you can obviously place them where you want your view to come from, so in other words where you'll be taking your photo from, but then most of the problems come when you place the target. So try to take the target a decent distance from your camera. Don't try and place it on the thing you want to be looking at. Try and place it further away, because in this view I'll probably want to pick up the courtyard wall and other things that I can see through my window, and if I don't take the view out far enough they'll be cropped. So I'm taking the target a decent distance from the camera before I click to place the camera target. And notice I'm also trying to keep this view straight. So do you know about 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspectives? Yeah. So, but you know 1 point and 2 point. So, okay, so here, what sort of perspective view am I going to get if I keep this parallel? That's exactly right, 1 point. If I have the target line parallel to the walls, in other words, straight, that's going to be a 1 point perspective. And there we are. So you can see that's clearly a 1 point perspective. Okay, so now I want to be able to see more. And so I'm going to expand this by changing the field of view. So can you keep it down over there? Okay, so now I'm going to, again, use these borders on the side to be able to see more. So I'm expanding them. In other words, I can see more in the view, but it's really important you realise I'm not moving the camera. This is expanding the field of view. Do you know another word for that? In photography, you do it all the time if you've ever used a camera that's got exactly zooming. So when you zoom, you can see more, but you're not moving. Like the lens is doing that. And this is what you're doing in Revit when you stretch the field of view. It's like changing the lens. And you need to be aware of that because the view is going to become more stretched out the more you do that. So you don't want to go too far or the view will get too stretched, but you can at least widen it most of the time, at least to about double what you begin with, because it's often too narrow at first. So I've got a view there that I want to then render. So I'm going to click on the Shadows button, turn Shadows on down the bottom, just to see what the sunlight's doing. And I have not changed any settings yet, so this is what you would get to if you had the same window as me. Over on the right-hand side, you will get sunlight coming into the space from the right, because the default is to have the sunlight from that direction. And for this project, you don't need to change the sun, so you can leave it like that, but you should definitely check it. So that Shadows button is really useful, just to make sure that you are getting some sunlight or you know what the sun is doing. I'm happy with that, so now I'm going to click on the button next to the Shadows button, which is the teapot to the right, which is your render button. You can also click on that on the View tab. And the only setting I'm going to change here is the lighting scheme. I'm going to change to interior sun only, and then I'm going to click render. Oh, rendering, so. No. I just want to do rendering first so that I can send it rendering in the cloud, and then I'll set the pages up while that's rendering. Okay, so I've got a render, and it's not great, but it's at least showing something reasonable. So what do you think maybe is not good about this image? What could be corrected? Yeah, definitely in the exposure, that's where you make all the corrections. Yep, so you click on just exposure. The brightness, yep, that's a bit of an issue. So here you've got at the top your exposure value. The shadows, yep, there's one other thing, but yep. Yeah, too colourful, yeah. So, so here I'll start with the exposure value, which is your brightness. It's a bit too bright maybe, but I'm going to take it to the left and just see what happens if I make it a little bit brighter. And this is where that apply button is finally going to be useful. If you're clicking apply and not knowing why, you don't need to click it. But in this case, I'm using apply because I want to see what happens without clicking OK. So it was a bit too bright, so I've gone to the right and made it a bit darker. And now I can see some detail out here that I couldn't see before. And they're the things you want to look for when you're adjusting the brightness. You want to look for areas where you get changes in your image, usually detail coming in that you don't see at different brightness levels. So there I've got some good detail coming in from the courtyard. Now, these areas are a little bit dark, so I could try adjusting the highlights and making them a little bit darker. Clicking apply, and you can see that those really bright areas are becoming darker. And that means I can go back to my original exposure and make it a little bit brighter and still keep that detail, hopefully. So those are just trial and error. Remember, they're really sensitive, so just drag it slightly and then click apply to see the result. And you can experiment with all of these. I'm going to skip shadows though for now and go to saturation. That's the colourfulness. That's a really useful one you might not know about, but it's pretty easy to understand. If you take it all the way to the left, that's going to be more monochrome or grayscale. So all the way to the left there, let's go all the way, that's black and white. All the way to the right is full colour, which is going to be over the top. So somewhere in between usually is what you want. And in this case, because I've got all these warm materials, it's very colourful. So I'm going to take it a little bit to the left so that it's more grey. And those colours aren't getting too saturated and looking unnatural. So that's more of a natural timber colour. But then also related to that is the temperature. And this is something that will help you a lot with your lighting generally. When you're working with interiors, you should know about lighting. And so if you've worked with lighting before, even if you've just bought light bulbs, you might have noticed the difference between warm light bulbs and cool light bulbs. Warm? What's warm? What sort of colour is warm? Yeah, orange, yeah, yellowish, orange, red tones, but usually yeah, orange is what you'll get when you're adjusting this slider. So going to the right, you can see it's becoming more and more orange. It's already quite warm anyway, so it's not changing a lot. If I go to the left, that'll be more blue. Now, if I go too far to the left, it's going to look again very unnatural because timber is a warm material and we don't want to take away from that too much. So it was a bit too warm because of the natural timber, but that's something I don't want to take away completely. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to click OK. And then I could render higher quality. I'll go to medium. And then I'm also going to adjust the resolution. So you've probably all seen that you can adjust the quality up the top here, and you have these presets, which just mean what they say, draft, medium, high, and best. Medium will only take a little bit longer than draft, but high is going to take a lot longer, and best will take longer still. Best could even take an hour, even with a simple model like this. You can see here, medium isn't going to take that long. It'll get through the first half, and then it'll just race through the second half. so sorry, it's going a little bit slow because I've got other programs open, but that should be done in a second. Pause the video, but it's usually pretty quick. There we go. Okay, so we're getting more detail there. You can see that was all blurred before. But I'm not going to go any higher because it'll take too long. But I do want to show you one other setting, and that's the resolution. So you've got your screen. If you set that to printer, you'll see that that's usually going to increase the resolution. And it's just going to help you if you look at the difference in the pixels. So with screen, we've got 786 by 462. If I click on printer, it's now 1934 by 1137. So what do those numbers mean? Okay, so if I've got, starting at the beginning, 786 by 462. How do I know that's not a very high resolution? Yep, it's lower, yep. And so is there anything that you look at quite often probably that you can relate those numbers to? Yeah, what sort of screens do you look at probably even more than your computers? Or maybe not like me. Maybe people don't watch TV anymore. But TVs use the same resolution or the same way of describing it. So do you know what a TV's resolution is or TV's pixel size is? You haven't bought a TV recently? No?
Yeah, but I don't look at pixel size.
No, but they always tell you, well, they'll tell you at least it's HD. If it's HD or full HD,
Yeah.
full HD means 1080. And you probably see that number quite come up even when you change channels, 1080.
Yeah.
Some of them are, or some of them are still 576 or 720. So they're talking about the height of the screen in pixels. And so 1080, that's full HD. Right? And so these numbers are going to help you if you start to remember these because you'll have to know what they mean when you work with your own images. So looking at the height here, 1137. That's higher than 1080. So that's a fairly high resolution. It's not super high. These days you go much higher. You might have heard about 4K TVs. No? Anyhow, they're the new ones. I just got one. They're not that much better. Yeah, I know. Well, a lot of computer screens have the same set. They use that same setup. Yes, a lot of computers. I've got a couple of 4K computer screens. And so they're the same. They're 4 times what a 1080 screen is. And most of the time it doesn't make a difference because the images aren't high enough yet. But when you've got the high quality video, it definitely makes a difference. So trying to get familiar with those numbers, that's really what I'm trying to show you with this project. You don't need a really high resolution, but that screen resolution is fairly low. So if you can see there pixels and graininess, try just going to printer, leave it on 150 dpi, click render, and it should improve the quality. I'm not going to do that because it'll just take too long. So what I'm going to do, instead of rendering it locally, what does rendering locally mean? Exactly. That's right. Rendering here with this render button on the local computer, again, like you're saying, exactly, as opposed to rendering on the cloud, which means other people's computers, which is always a good thing. And I used to think it was in San Francisco, but it's not. It's in Singapore, the big render cloud that we use. And to access it, you just need to sign into your Autodesk account. So up in Revit, you just click sign in and then sign into A360. You need your Autodesk login. And which one? I've got a couple. I'll use this one. Okay, there we are. So if you're signed in, your name or your login should come up there instead of the sign in button. Then, on the View tab, you can click Rendering Cloud. And if you haven't tried this yet, trust me, you just have to try it. It is so much better than rendering locally. You won't ever go back to rendering without the cloud afterwards. Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, you can turn the computer off. Yeah, it's amazing. I've done jobs where I've sent it to Rendering Cloud and then just taken my tablet with me to a meeting and then just accessed it on the tablet and show it to the client. Yeah, you just use a web browser to access it. Yeah, yeah, you don't even need Revit installed on the computer that you're opening it on. Just a web browser. Yeah, so on your phone you can open it. Okay, so here this dialog is just information, so you can hit continue there, and then normally, because you don't have to pay, you can just choose large from the image size there. I've got to pay for mine, for my commercial license, and they're not cheap, so you get this amazing thing, amazing service for free as students, which is great. And then apart from the image size, the render quality. I would, if I was you, just set that to final every time, unless it's a test. And then start rendering. That's it.
Yeah, I think 5 hours. Is that how long?
No, that's just a guess. No, it'll be much faster than that. So,
It said 2 hours per week.
oh, was it more than 2 hours?
No, it said 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I've never seen it take more than an hour,
Okay.
even with the highest quality. So, yeah, it's amazingly quick. So, here if I go start rendering, then I can either hit continue in background and start working straight away, but that'll go away pretty quickly regardless. So it's rendering already, but I'm worried that it's not started, so I'm going to check it. You don't have to check it, but just so you can see, I'm going to click on the sign in button on my name and then go to render progress, and it'll open up Internet Explorer if you haven't got it open already. I'd suggest you have it open already. And there you can see it's rendering. Now it's in progress, so if I click there, it's going to tell me, well, it says 5 hours, it will be faster than that. So I'll show you some I've done earlier. So these are quite low quality, but these...
In the gallery, they're all rendered, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so these were all rendered. This took 20 minutes, not even. Yeah. And that's not even high quality. So yeah, it's just amazing. And so that's going. So now I'm going to set up the rest of the views I need. So as I showed you before, I already have some sheets that I've set up previously, but just to prove to you that I'm doing everything, I'm going to delete these. By right-clicking on the sheet, I can go to delete. I'm going to delete each one. Don't be afraid to delete sheets. This is a sheet, and I'm going to right-click and delete that as well, and make them all from scratch. Doesn't take long to make a sheet. And you're not deleting the views when you delete a sheet. So don't be afraid to delete sheets if you want to make them again. You can do that, or you can just right-click in the project browser on Sheets All. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then just new sheet. Oh, I'd probably delete it because it won't be, unless you set it up, it won't be. Yeah, yeah. So again, right-clicking on Sheets All, I'll go to New Sheet, and then I'm going to click Load, even though I've already got some title blocks. I'll click Load, and then I'm going to go to the Revit library on the P drive. And then in the title blocks folder there, I've got one that I've made that I know I want. It's called A3 Metric DCE 2012 in brackets. You don't have to use this one, you can use any, but that's the one I'm using. So A3 Metric DCE 2012. I'll double click on that, and then click OK, and it's made a new page using that title block. Yeah, so that's just because I loaded it from the library. Yeah. So, yeah, you can use any, but if you want, you can use that one.
But the other one with the stuff on the side here, you don't even fill half of it out.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And for A3, you can do it landscape with it down the bottom. That's fine. So, now I want to put some views onto the page, and this is really the important step. Making the sheet Once you get that step, that shouldn't be too hard. But then the next part really is what you spend most of the time on when you're making your sheets. It's actually the setup of the views that you need to spend most of your time on. So I've got a view here that I've used to draw things. So I've got door numbers, I've got all these sections, I've got lots of things that I don't want on my printout.
We don't have to have door numbers or
No, you don't. I don't want them. So I'm going to show you how to get rid of all these things. I've also got the reference planes, and I've got more. I've drawn the whole house. You don't need to draw any of that. So I don't want to show any of those things. So what do I do? Yeah. So what do I do to set up a view that only shows what I want? Do I just delete the things from here that I don't want? That's right. Do I hide them? But do I hide them in this view?
no, other view.
Yeah. And so how do I make the other view?
You
Exactly. Right, so that's the key. Remembering to duplicate. Every time you need a new view, you need to duplicate the view that you're starting with. Yep. Right click on the view you want to duplicate. Yep. And then, once you go to duplicate view, I'm going to show you duplicate with detailing, just so that we only stick with that one option. Yep. So just be aware, if you go into edit type and duplicate there, that's different, so don't do that. So I've seen a few people do that. So again, right click on the view you want to copy, duplicate view, and then duplicate with detailing. Yep, that's right, yep.
So we should have the original and the one that's going on the drawing.
Exactly. You want the original because you want to go back to a view where you can see everything, just for you to work in. So now I've got this view copied, and I'm just going to right click on that new view and go to rename and give it the name I want on the sheet. So this view really is a locality plan. So let's call it that. Well, it's not really, so location plan, sorry, is a better name for it. Yep. So locality plan's different. Yep. Yep. So it's showing where things are. And it's going to be a small location plan, but it's still a location plan. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to select one of the elevations. And then right click and hide in view category.
Haven't got one of them either.
You might have hidden them already. You probably have. So I just zoomed out so I could see these elevation symbols. Yeah. They will often be a long way away. And then when you right click with those, you can just go to hide in view category, and that'll hide all of them. That's not that's a section that's why. So, yeah. They're different. Yeah, sections and elevations are different. Yeah, so to hide the section, we don't want to hide all of them. I want to keep some of those section lines, but I've got here two that are overlapping, so that's a bit silly. I'm going to hide this one. So I just selected the one I want to hide. I'm going to right click and again hide in view, but this time elements. Because I don't want to hide all of the sections, I just want to hide that one. So I've kept the other two sections there. You only have to put one section on your sheet, but I'm going to put two on.
And what scale does it say?
Yeah, that's good. So this one's 1 to 100, so we can do that now too. So down here you've got the scale button. And it was already on 1 to 100, so I don't need to change it, but yep, you should be thinking about that. Yep, just the button down the bottom. Yep. And so then the last thing I'm going to hide before I crop it is the reference planes. So again, I'm going to select one, I'm going to hide the category, but I'll use the shortcut this time. So do you remember the shortcut for category? So it's fairly easy to remember. It's VH, which is view hide. So if you just select something you want to hide and then VH, It'll hide the category. So I've hidden those things. Now I want to hide part of this plan. So do you remember how to take away just part of the plan? I can't hide these walls because I don't want to hide the whole thing. So here I want to take away this part of the plan basically from there to the left. So instead of hiding, do you remember what you need to do? Remember cropping? Yep, that's right. So yeah, so use cropping to do that. And the easiest way to start with cropping is to click on the button at the bottom next to the glasses. So the glasses is your temporary hide button, the ones that are down the bottom. Next to that, to the left, is the show crop button. Yep, sure. Yeah, probably because they're too low. So you might have brought the height down. That's the only thing I think. Otherwise, it's something else I have to come and have a look. So if I click on that button, you can see there that it's bringing up this rectangle. On yours, you might need to zoom to find it.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, that's your crop region.
So I kept on using my drone and then it's here.
Yeah. So you need that because you're going to use that to crop out the parts you don't want to see.
Just clicked on that show crop button.
That's it. Yeah.
That comes up.
Yeah.
And then you can stretch it out.
Exactly. Yeah. When you select that, then you can use the grips in the middle, and that'll crop out most things. But notice how some things don't get cropped. Yeah, then you can just bring the section in afterwards. That's normal. So often, yeah, the section might be, I'll show you. So, yeah, at first you might have your section sticking out like this. So if it's like that, is that how your section line is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can just select it and then use the grip there and bring that back in. Okay, so I've cropped the plan and I've got the part that I want showing. But again, I've got this dimension that didn't get cropped. You haven't drawn dimensions, so you probably won't have as many of those things, but if you do have anything like that, you can again just hide it the same way as everything else. So I'm going to hide elements, and if you want to know the shortcut, it's EH, not VH. So I've got the door and window numbers. I don't want them either, so I can select one and then hide the category. Or I just want to hide them also. Yeah, I'll just use category. And then the window numbers are different categories, so I'll have to hide them separately. All right, and how much better does that look already? So that's how I wanted to show on the sheet, except that it's still showing my crop border. So I'm going to click on the same button I used to show it, and that'll hide it.
Can we just crop the whole thing except for the bathroom?
Well, not really, because you need to have one drawing at 1 to 100 which shows the whole thing, and then another drawing that shows just the floor plan. Because one of the requirements is you have 2 different scales.
Yeah, so on this one that we're doing right now, what do we want to see? Like everything basically?
Yeah, that's right.
Popping out of the white space around it?
Everything from this wall. So that wall there to the right. So you should have drawn this wall in. Oh no, sorry, not that wall, sorry. So this wall, I mean. So everything from that wall. So that's the edge of the courtyard. So you should have,
Have that either.
you haven't drawn that one.
We have
What have you got next to your courtyard? You must have it, yeah. You've got your courtyard.
No, I have that wall.
Oh,
I have the end one that goes all the way down.
yeah, well, yeah, so you need to draw that wall in because you need to have the courtyard enclosed.
And I don't have anything in my courtyard. Do I need?
Me too.
You don't really need anything, you just need to have it enclosed to show there's a space outside the bathroom.
What have you got? You've got a wall with a door over there. Is that a door?
Yeah, it's a window.
A window.
You don't need a window, but yeah, it should be enclosed.
The door's here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fairly easy just to draw in a wall. And the point of it is that you're showing any spaces adjoining the one you're designing should be shown. So that's what I want to show. And again, this is at 1 to 100. So I'm going to go and open up my sheet. So in Sheets All, now if I double click, I've got the sheet that I made earlier. I'll double click to open that. And then I'll scroll back in the project browser and find location plan. And then I can simply click and drag location plan onto the page. Click to place it. It's that easy. But it's only easy if you've done that setup. If you haven't set the view up first, it'll be too big and it'll have things that you don't want to see and it'll just be harder. So
To make sure everything's ready on the location and page first before you
pretty much, yeah. The more setup you do there, the easier it'll be when you go to put it on page. Yes. So.
There's a section line there that I don't want there because it's not relevant.
Yep. So you can go back to the drawing. So just go back to the view, and then you can hide things, keep adjusting it, and they'll all come up on the page. No. So maybe I'll hide those too. Right. So I haven't shown you dimensions, so I'm going to just hide those. Just hide the category. And now, if I open up the page again, of course, all those changes come straight through. And that's why I've been saying you can set up the pages well before you finish the project, because everything will just keep getting updated. So, yeah, well, I'll just do one more view. So I'll go back to the, well, I might do a couple more views, because you can probably, so back to like,
We know what we need on each page.
yeah. So I've got location plan. I'm going to right click on this one now and do what I did before. I'm going to duplicate with detailing. Right, just exactly the same as I did before. And I'll right click on the new plan and go to rename. And this will be bathroom plan. I've already got that, so I have to give it a new name. Bathroom floor plan. Okay, so all I need to change here is the cropping. So I'll show the crop region again, select it, and then just bring that in so that it's going around the bathroom. So this is the one I'm going to use to show the bathroom. So bring that right in close. Then I can hide it again. And I'm also, though, going to change the scale to 1 to 50.
And do you want to see the section lines in this one too?
Yeah, you should for this, yeah.
So we might need to just crop it a little bit wider with the section lines.
Or you bring your section lines in.
But like, then they'll be fully overlapping the plan.
Yeah, oh no, yes, I still need to stick out like mine are here, yeah. Okay, so I've got an extra section line. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. Bathroom floor plan is the one I want. So I've got a section line here that's come up that I don't want to see. So I'll hide that. And now I've just got the 2 section lines that I had on my previous plan. And the scale's done, so I can go back to the sheet now and drag bathroom, let's get the right one, bathroom floor plan. Again, the same as before, clicking and dragging, and then I'll click to place it. Okay, so I've got to juggle a bit to get them on the page, but I can still do that. It comes up automatically. I'll come and have a look, but you've dragged it onto the page, have you? On the sheet, yeah. Because if it's on the sheet and it hasn't got a name, it won't be in that view, but if you go onto the sheet, I'll have to come and have a look. Well, no, I can see it. It's just because it's very big, yeah, down the bottom, that's all, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, so you've got to just go back to the view and hide the elevations and do it again. Yeah. Okay, so here I can select the viewport at the top, and I'll just click and drag to move that up a little bit. Don't worry if the viewport edge goes off the page a little bit, that's okay.
Because that's not going to be seen when it's printed.
Exactly. Yeah. Another way of moving these is to use the arrows on your keyboard. If you haven't tried that yet, the up and down arrows will nudge it in that direction, and that's a good way of moving things. It works left and right as well. So not the greatest layout, but that'll do for now. At least it's all fitting. Just, I'd probably spend more time on it fine tuning, but I don't want to spend too long on this. So maybe what I might do instead is just centre these by nudging them over to the right, and that might do for the first page as a minimum. So you only need the 2 floor plans. And the main requirement, or really the purpose of this part of the assignment, is to demonstrate that you can get drawings at different scales that show basically the same thing. That's a really important thing. You need to be able to do drawings that locate things, and then drawings that show things in more detail, but often showing the same spaces. So now I need to make another sheet to fit some extra views. So exactly the same as before, I can right click on Sheets All, go to New Sheet. Not going to worry about saving this. Oh yeah, well, I'll save it. I don't need to load the title block again. I've already loaded it. So in the list, I'm just making sure it's still selected, the same one. So I'm going to click OK. That hasn't changed. And do you know the order that your drawings should be in normally? It's the way you say it. Plans, sections, elevations. So for presentation drawings, it's different. You can do it any order, really. But for construction drawings, definitely plans and then sections, then elevations is pretty typical. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to open up my section view, and you can see I've already set this one up. So I'll put it back to the way it would have started. And still got a bit more set up than you'd have, but it's at least not done completely. So yours might start out like this, with the section box big and showing more than you want. So, not the section box, sorry, the crop region. So if you see that rectangle there when you open your section view, it just means that the crop region's turned on already. It often will be turned on already in a section. So if you click on that button, it's just going to hide it. But you can always click on it again to unhide it. And with sections, more than with plans, you need to crop them. Virtually every time, you always want your sections cropped.
Is there a crop button?
Yeah, that's this button here. So you've got 2. So the glasses there, and then to the left of that button, next to the glasses to the left, is the show crop button, show crop region. No. Use this so that hides and shows the thing that you used to crop. So that rectangle, that's what you use to then do your cropping.
So do we duplicate the sections?
No, you don't need to duplicate the sections, because if you do, it's tied to another section line. So this is the one that's tied to that section line. So I need that that link. So I'm just going to make sure actually, because I've got a few. So I've got a few views here that are the same, and I just want to make sure I'm working in the right one. Yeah. Okay, so I've just opened my section view up again, and I'm cropping it with this crop region, and basically bring that in as close to the edge of the bathroom as possible, but still showing the walls that are alongside it. So that looks okay. So I can hide the crop region again. Change the graphics. It's good to experiment with different graphics and see what looks good.
So are we cropping all the words about the city mapped out?
No, you don't have to. So here you can see I've left mine, but I've adjusted the tags so that they don't overlap.
So our crop just keeps them in it?
Yeah, they won't get cropped. So
Wait, so even, sorry, if I crop them out, like if I bring the crop in,
it won't crop them.
They'll stay there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, okay, now watch what happens though. If I change the scale, notice how the text gets smaller. And that's a good thing. So often sections at 1 to 100 are difficult to work with, not so much because there's too much detail, but because the text gets too big relative to what you're drawing. That's often why 1 to 50 sections are, so 1 to 100 sections are difficult for interiors. For 1 to 50, when you're drawing them, they might seem like more work because they're bigger drawings and you will draw more detail. But with computer drawings, they're often easier because you can fit the text and the other things in a lot more easily. So you don't have to do all the work I'm doing here with the tags, but if you want to, you can adjust those and make them more readable. That's just adjusting the grips here. So I'll do one at the top there. You can see I've got this level selected, and this button here is the one you use to put an arrow in if you want to break that line and adjust it separately with the grips. You can always bring it back to... That's only if you've got overlapping text like I do. And here, so you can just keep adjusting that. Okay, so again, I've got some more things that I want to hide, like the reference plane, so I can again just hide those like normal. So a lot of it is hiding. I'm just cleaning things up and hiding anything that isn't absolutely necessary. So that's what I want for my section. And now, just like before, I'll go back to the sheet I want to place it on. And sorry, I forgot to check the name though. So try to make sure you know the name of your view. So this was section 1. That's going to help me in a second. So back onto my sheet again, and I'll drag section 1 onto the page. And you can see at 1 to 50, it's still not taking up too much of the page. So I can move that to one side.
Did you just duplicate sheet?
Yeah, did you duplicate?
No, you have to make new sheets. You can't duplicate sheets. Yeah.
Did you duplicate that section?
No, I didn't. You don't need to duplicate sections.
Okay.
Really just plans.
Just, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And cameras, you'll see other views as well, but yeah, sections you shouldn't duplicate at all. Yeah. So then, just to repeat the process, you don't need to do this extra section, but I'm going to repeat it just so it's clear. I've got another section view here that's looking to the right. So if you're just watching this, it'll still help you, because when I select that section, you'll see if I look in properties, I can scroll down and see what the name is. And it's, again, helpful to know the name. It's section 2. Do you know how to open that section without knowing the name?
Double click on the...
Exactly. That's really good to remember. So I could have gone down in the project browser and found section 2 now that I know the name. But like saying, if you double click on the arrowhead of that section, that will open it. And now I can see over here section 2 is the bold one. So this view also I've set up. Now I don't want to see section lines in a section view, so I'll hide that as well. Person doesn't hurt. In this view, it's not hiding any of my units, and they're always a good thing for reference, for height and scale and everything else. But I'll just nudge her over a bit so she's out of the doorway. And there we go. So again, the scale is 1 to 50. My tags are a bit messy, so I might tidy those up a little bit. Honestly though, I don't mind if you just hide the tags, the levels in other words. So you can just, if you want to, instead of tidying these up, just hide the whole level category. And that's still an okay section. But again, I'm going to keep the levels in because it's good practice. But I will make them a bit neater than that. The reference planes, again, can be hidden, and we don't want those ever to be in your print views. And I'll, again, adjust the crop region a little bit more, mainly taking out anything at the bottom that I don't want, and maybe I might bring some balls down just so it looks a bit more convincing. Yeah, that might do. This tiled area shouldn't really be there, but I don't want to show you how to hide just the things until later that need to be hidden in part. So I can't just hide this because I want to see the tiles up here. And there is a way of just hiding part of it, but definitely something we'll have to look at later. So for now, I'm just going to leave that in. So again, that's how I want my section view with the cropping turned off. So back to my page, and just like before, I can click and drag and just place the section on my sheet.
So we need 2 sections?
No, you only need one.
Okay.
Yeah. One section, yeah. But just so to show two. It is good practice usually to have two, but yeah, for this project, just one.
But can we put two for one?
If you want to do two, that's good. Yeah. Okay, so next, and before I do the next views, I want to show you that the references have come up now. So notice how, because I've put those views onto sheets, they've got the numbers. So if you've been trying to put numbers into your section references and not succeeding, it's because it won't ever let you put the numbers in. It does it for you. So as soon as you put a section view onto a sheet, these numbers will be done. So how do I change the numbers now if I want to change these? You'd think so, but it still won't let you. What you can do though is go and change the sheets. So look at my sheets, they're A104 and A105. So if I go to the first sheet, and this sheet probably should be A100 if it's the first sheet, or A101. So I've changed it there in the title block, and back on the plan. What's happening? Oh, sorry, they're both on the second sheet, so they're not on 100. So this will be now A101. So now, back in that plan, they've both changed. So that's how you adjust the numbers. So, so you can still make the numbers whatever you want, but you do it by changing the sheet, which is a really efficient way of working.
So will it stay changed in your view?
Yeah, it's all linked. Yep. So now I want to make an isometric view. And do you remember the other name for these? And remember the other name for isometric views? There's a couple. There's the Revit name, which is a stupid one, default 3D view. God knows why they chose that name. I don't know what it means. It's obviously a default view, but they've called it orthographic, which is actually not correct either. It should be orthogonal. Oh no, orthographic, that is right. Yeah, that's right, orthographic. So orthographic is the technical name for these views, but it's also confusing. So I don't like using that term, orthographic. I think the better one is axonometric or isometric. Now, isometric really just means equal angles. So if you don't think you've got an isometric view, just click on the house, either on the View tab or on the Quick Access toolbar at the top. That makes a default 3D view, which starts off as an isometric. If you ever want to set it to an isometric angle, you can click on any of the corners of the cube up here. They're all isometric views because they all have equal angles. Okay, so any of those four corners is an isometric view.
So you can't like pinch it or...
No, you can. So I've said isometric in the brief, but really what I mean there is that they can be any axonometric view. So...
Sorry, there's nothing in corner view can be anything that you can see.
That's right. Exactly. So axonometric similar, but it can be any angle. So isometric again is the equal angles, but with a vertical axis. You can see here all the corners, so the edges of the cube are vertical. So that means vertical axis. If it was a perspective, they wouldn't be vertical. Some of them would be at a slope. So I'm using Shift and the middle mouse button to orbit, but you can also drag the cube. So these aren't isometric views anymore, but they're still axonometric because they have a vertical axis. So that means they're not perspective views, and they're really, really useful views, especially for clients and other people who can't read floor plans very well. Because when it's like a 3D floor plan if you set them up properly. And honestly, I was drawing these things when I was about 6 or 7, because my dad was an architect and he had lots of graph paper lying around that was set up at an angle to draw these. And I just found it more natural than drawing floor plans. So some people just find it natural to draw this way, and I still design most of my designs in axonometric, just like this. So if you haven't tried them before, make sure you get comfortable with them in Revit, and then also try drawing them by hand, because it's a really valuable skill. So I've got one. It's called 3D in brackets. How do I make extra? Exactly. Duplicate that view. Right click on it, duplicate view, and then here it doesn't matter which option you choose. They're all the same, except for the bottom. Never use duplicate as dependent. So duplicate here or duplicate as with detailing, doesn't matter. So I've got the new view 3D copy 2. I'm going to rename that the same as before, right clicking, and I'll call it ISO 1. So how do we crop 3D views? Well, you could. They do. It does work. This button down here does the same thing. That's right. It's not really a 3D crop. This button is a 2D crop. So I'm not going to use that. Instead, in View Properties, or the properties over here, Properties panel, I'm going to scroll down and find Section Box. I'm going to tick that. Then with that 3D box, I'm going to click and drag using the controls on the corner, on the sides, and bring it right in and just show what I want. So I want to see the deck and my bathroom. I also want to see just below the ceiling. So I want to hide all of these ceiling elements. So I'm going to use that up, down arrow at the top and bring this down so I can see inside the bathroom. And that's probably an okay view. So the only problem, yeah?
This one doesn't need to be to scale.
It always is to scale. It's automatically to scale. Yep. So yeah, it's good to be thinking about that though. So now though, the section box itself is getting in the way. So I'm going to select that and then hide it just like anything else, hide in view elements. Different graphics might work better here, so I might try realistic. And that's good. I've got the plant there showing much better. And maybe shadows might be good here. No, I don't like shadows, I'm going to turn them off. But you can experiment with different graphics options with these views, and I'll show you some different examples in a minute. So I've done that. ISO 1 is the view name, and that's still at 1 to 100. So I might change that to 1 to 50. And then I'm going to scroll down and make a new sheet. Same as before, right-clicking, new sheet. I'm just going to click OK to use the same title block. And now I will find ISO 1, click and drag, place it on the sheet, and you can see it's really big. Or the view's big, but what I want to show isn't. And you can see there, I can easily move that so that it fits onto the sheet, but the tag down the bottom is still far too big. So when that happens, there is a way of fixing it. I'll show you later. You can bring this viewport in so that it goes just around what you see, but it's still sometimes necessary to adjust the tag. So here you can see if I've got the viewport selected and I try and move the tag, notice how the whole thing moves. And you might have seen that already.
Why don't we do it 1 to 100?
Because it'll be small. You can do some at 1 to 100, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have some at a different scale, just so they're bigger. So again, I can move the whole thing that way, but if you want to move just the tag, you've got to deselect, press escape if you have to, and then you can just drag the tag by itself. So I'm just zooming there so that I can see it. And now I need to shorten the tag. And this is where it might seem a bit backwards, but you have to select the viewport, in other words, the view, the thing you've placed on your sheet, and then you get the grips so that you can shorten that line. Yeah, it's complicated to explain it. When you do it though, it's not so bad. So,
I need to be doing it.
yeah.
For
Mine on the sheet, it's like it's not really too big, even
Yep.
at 150, so it just kind of doesn't matter.
Oh, it depends on the angle, yeah. If it's at a different angle, it won't take up as much.
Alright.
Yeah. So that's one axonometric view done. So I'll repeat that to do another one.
do you have to do a certain scale on them
No, no, you can do them all 1 to 100 if you want.
So maybe on one page you can do one that's 1 to 50, one that's 1 to 100,
Mhm.
but then you have 2 pages.
Yep, that's right. Yep, layout's up to you. Yep.
So they're all going to be one per page.
No, you can do them on. I'll do some on with multiple on a page. So I've got the view that I've just made. Now I'm going to duplicate that and make a new one from that. So maybe I want to show the bar with a bit more detail. So I'm going to click on the light bulb down the bottom so that I can see that section box again. So if you haven't used that option, that light bulb there is really useful to reveal anything you've hidden. And then I can select it and then crop right in just to show that bath area. In the shower maybe. It's a bit too far. There we are. And I don't want to see the deck here, so I'm going to bring that right back as well. A bit too far again.
That one's 1 to 50 and that one's 1 to 100.
There we go. Okay, so I've got the things showing that I want. So now I'll click on the light bulb button again, and it's going to hide most of those objects. In fact, I've got some wall there that's getting in the way, but no, for this project, that's okay. Maybe actually you could bring the crop region up at the bottom. It's probably the best way to resolve anything like that. That'll do. Hiding the bottom of my bath, but I'll live with that. So, okay, so that's a more detailed view. So I'm going to change the scale to 1 to 20. And I'll go back to the page. So now I can move this viewport across. Move the tag as necessary. Maybe just nudge that over a little bit more. And then see if I can fit the next view. So looking through my list, it's going to be still called ISO 1 copy 1. So I'll rename that as bath and shower. And now I can drag that onto the sheet. And it's not going to fit on this page. So I'll delete it from here. Just with the delete button on the keyboard. And I'll go and make a new sheet. So again, bath and shower, I'm just going to click and drag. And now, again, don't worry if it becomes really big like this. We're going to go through cropping more later. But, well, at 1 to 20, I'll be struggling to fit this on. But,
Is that for 1 to 20?
yeah. So 1 to 20 is always hard. It's makes
And
things
then
really
there's
big.
a page, right?
That's right. So what I'd probably do here, though, is just crop that out a bit more in 3D. I can bring the section box down because I don't really need to see all of that wall.
And are these easier to print than using the AutoCAD? You don't have to do them on the model and so you can just cut them from...
From the page. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Once you set the page up, that sets the print up pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, it's easier. Yeah.
This is not recording any of this, is it?
No, it's all recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. Oh, does it? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Look, well, sheet setup 2 covers the same thing. Yeah, that's why I redid it. I remember now. Yeah. So.
Just a quick question with the Andrew Boyd Charleston now.
Yeah. Oh, they're doing that one, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The
Yeah.
columns.
Yeah.
You happen to know what diameter they are?
Oh, off the top of my head,
They're like 200 or something.
I
Like, they
think
look pretty small.
they are. Yeah, they're a bit under 200, but
Are they and they're steel? Are they
yeah,
metal?
yeah, they're hollow. Yeah. Sure, no, I get you. Okay, so you can see there, I'm adjusting the tag so that it fits underneath. But often when you've got just one view on a page, there's another option. When the viewport's selected, you'll see in properties it'll say viewport title with line. You can just change that to no title.
What do you mean, title is line?
Yeah, so that's the title.
Selected, that's what comes.
Yeah. If you set it to no title, that's often better because if you've only got one view on the page, please put the name into the title block.
Can I just
Yeah,
ask
sure.
you, with the isometric, what we have to do with the room? So you're just doing one isometric drawing and
Yeah.
cutting out sections of the room?
Yeah.
The same isometric drawing. So it's not 4 different angles?
No, not necessarily. They could be different angles, but
Okay.
yeah, those need to be different views.
Okay.
That's all, yeah. So I've set some up previously. I'll just show you them to give you some ideas. So here there's one I did that's just hidden line with the shadows turned on though. And there I've also turned the sun path on. So that's just the option here. You've got next to the shadows button, there's this button here if you want to turn the sun path on. That's a good thing to try. I'll turn it off so you can see that's without. And then when you turn the sun path on, you get this compass with the sun following that arc through the sky.
Can you put a time in there, 5 o'clock?
I think Winnie's got a question. One
Yep.
small question.
Yep, sure. So, oh yeah, you print to PDF. I'm going to do that in a minute. So yeah, that's what it is. Yes, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. So, so that's one idea. This is another one I made earlier, which is similar to the one I showed you. In fact, that's the one I just showed you, almost exactly. This one, you can see just a different angle with more cropping. And then this one is an exterior detail. So that's cropping out and not trying to show too much of the inside, but more showing the deck and again with the shadows and this time realistic graphics. So just playing around with those different graphics options, even ray trace there can be worth trying. But just remember when you choose ray trace, you have to wait for it. But at this stage, you hopefully will have things set up, and if you do put the time in and wait for these, sometimes you can get a nice result like you can see there. But I'm going to go back to realistic for that one because I think that's almost as good. Okay, so all of those views can be put onto sheets the same way. If you've got them set up in the project browser, you just need to drag them onto your sheets. So, so now I can go back to the camera views. Sorry. All right. Try Control Alt Delete. Control Alt Delete. I'll give it a minute if it's rendering, that's probably why it's frozen. I'll come and have a look in a minute, won't be one thing. Okay, so I'm going to make another sheet. So remember, you don't need to have all your perspective views rendered. So if you have camera views, I'll just make a new one. Camera, again, and this time, so when you're placing a camera, just to give you some more tips there, try to put them back close to the wall, but really be careful that you don't put them inside your walls. And it's an easy mistake to make, I do it all the time. So close to the wall, but not right on it, or you'll be inside. And don't be afraid to make multiple camera views just to experiment with different angles. So again here, I've got a camera view, and I'm going to play with some different graphics as well. And, well, already I'm kind of happy with that view, but I could also maybe adjust the field of view to expand the crop region as necessary. So this view is in my project browser 3D View 8, so I'm going to give that a better name by right-clicking. I'll go to Rename, and we'll call it Exterior Perspective View. Okay, so to put these onto the sheets, it's a little bit different to the other views. So in my project browser, I've made a new sheet, And now I'm going to click and drag to place this view on a sheet. But notice how it doesn't have a scale. And so to adjust the size, I need to select the view and go to size crop up on the ribbon. So it's only perspectives that you do like this. So again, I've selected my view. I'll click size crop. Then in this dialog box, you have to choose scale lock proportions. Almost every time, just click on that and try and make that an instinct. So you just do that automatically, and so then we've got the width and the height. So how do we relate those numbers to what you can see on the page? What page size did I start with? A3. So how big is A3? Okay, so A3 is 420 by 297. Right, so 420 across. That's maybe a good number to think about or to use to work out the width of this view. So half of 420 is 210, but it's already narrower than that. It's already less than 210. But remember, we've got the border, and we want a border around the image here as well. So it's going to be less than 210, and it's probably going to be less than what it is, 174. So I'm going to try 150. And then notice how if I click next to it in the height, that number's going to change automatically because it's got locked proportions. So that simply means if you change one number, the other one's going to change. The height here, if that's 105, I'll just change that to 100. And now if I click onto the width, it's going to change. Because again, they're locked together. And that's a good thing. It means it keeps the same proportions no matter which value you change. So 140, 143, that's hopefully going to work fairly well for the width. So it doesn't matter if you get it wrong, you can easily come back and change it. I'm going to click OK, and I can see the change.
So when you do that, like mine is really far away from the little tiny thing.
Yeah, you can just click and drag to move it.
Just the interior.
Yeah, yep. And then usually you'll have to move the tag afterwards. Yep. Oh, I'll be done in a second, so I can have a look. So I'll do the same thing again. I'll get another view. So I can either select one that I've made already, or can always go back and make another one. So I'll go back into plan view and make another camera. And this time maybe I want to see that bath area. So I'll click into the corner there and do another 2-point perspective looking at an angle. Now this one looks really close in because it's a small space, so there definitely need to bring the crop region out so that I can see more. So this is where that zooming idea hopefully will become a lot clearer. Yeah, because with small spaces you really need a zoom lens, effectively. So that's what we're doing here with Revit with the field of view, same thing. And there, because the textures are a big part of my design, realistic is probably a better view or a better graphics option. But this one I may render. No, I'll leave it like that. It's fine for now. So again, looking in the project browser, this is called 3D View 8. So I'll rename that. And we'll call this shower and bath, maybe. Will do. And so here, I've got a perspective on this sheet already, but it doesn't mean I can't put more on. So here's, where to go? Shower and bath. So that's coming much bigger than the other view on the sheet. Not a problem because we've just gone through changing the size. So just like the other one, I can select this view, go to size crop. Remember the most important thing, change it to scale block proportions down the bottom. And so I remember my height was 100 for the first image. So I'm going to make this one the same. I'm not so worried about the width being the same because I just need the height between these two to line up. Doesn't matter if one's a different width, if they're side by side. So I've got the height 100, I'm going to click OK, and you can see now the height is the same. I nudge it up. Have any of you, if you've already tried putting things on sheets, have you had a look at trying to line things up this way? It's really hard. So if that was a hard thing for you, don't worry, it's hard for everyone. So for now, just by eye is good enough. So there, I can see my cursors here. If I bring that across, that looks pretty good to me. There is a way of doing it accurately. I'll show you that later, but for now, by eye is fine. So again, my tags down here, I need to move that afterwards just by dragging it, and it will line up automatically with the other one. Okay, so there are my two non-rendered perspectives, but now I want a rendered one. So let's see how it's going on the cloud. So back up to the top, and okay, I told you it'd be quick, but it's taking, maybe there are a lot of people, I think there must be a lot of people rendering at the moment, probably a lot of assignments due. So anyhow, you can see that is rendering, and the quality will be excellent once that's done. And again, notice it's very colourful, and maybe the brightness could be adjusted, but I can do all of that just like I did before with the exposure once that's finished rendering. So you have the same options to adjust the exposure. Actually, I can show you those now. When you click on this little down arrow, it'll come up in the menu there. You'll see it'll have the option to adjust exposure, and then it's the same as when you rendering locally. So having done all of that, let's go and find one that I saved earlier because I can't show you that one. Here we go. Here's one I did earlier. Okay, so just pretend this is the bathroom that I've rendered. That's obviously a totally different space, but now I want to save that image. So you click on the arrow here and then download image. Okay, give it a minute. If you're using Internet Explorer, it'll give you a little message down here, and then you click Save As. So if you click on that little down arrow, then you can click Save As and save it somewhere you're going to remember. So I'm going to save it into my CAD2 folder and make sure I know the name. There we go. And that's done. Okay, so now I need to put that onto my page in Revit. So this is the final thing. It's probably the last step you'll do in your assignment. Go to the Insert tab and then click Image. So there's the file I've just downloaded. It's not of the bathroom, unfortunately, but I do have some from the bathroom already that I'm going to just get now. Okay, so just imagine I've downloaded these instead. So these are some that I'd rendered earlier from the bathroom. So now I can just click to place that image. These are a bit easier to adjust. If you select them, you can just use the corners there to stretch them. So this one I'll probably have to play around with the layout a bit to make that better, or maybe I'll put it down here. Again, not the best layout I've ever done, but that might do. Okay, now the labels aren't going to come up automatically for these, and because we haven't done annotation yet, they don't need to be labelled. So you don't need to label all your perspectives. If you know how to, then by all means try that, but you don't have to.
done in the cloud.
Probably, yeah, and that's an early cloud one from the old engine, but yeah.
And these ones, like in the beginning you were mentioning that, hang on, one was done in the cloud
Yeah.
and then one was done in,
Oh, on the computer, yes. So we'll go back to that one. So if you do render locally and you want to use that, I should show you that too, yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so this one here, I think this is the one I was rendering. I've got to render it again. So I'll just do that. I'll do it on draft, so it's a bit faster. And there we are. So it should render pretty quickly. Okay, slowing down a bit just because the computer's resources are all getting used, but yep, sure, yeah, much more. So once this is done anyway, you'll see, there we go, that's done. You'll see there's a button down at the bottom of that dialog box that says Save to Project. So then you can give it a name. So I'm just going to call this Bathroom Perspective. And close this. Now, if I scroll down, you'll see that it'll have this category called Renderings. And there, if you open it up, you'll see any views that you've saved. So there's the one I've just saved. And now I can go onto any page, onto any sheet. So maybe I'll put it here, but I'll just make this one a bit smaller. Stick it over here. And get my next view from renderings, just dragging that one that I've saved, placing it on the sheet. But remember, this is a Revit view, so to adjust this, it's again slightly different to all the others. You need to make sure you've got it selected, and then go to Activate View. Then you can select it again, and use the grip, just like the other one, to stretch it. So now you can see I can't select anything else on the page, so I have to right click and then deactivate view. And then again my tag has gone down the bottom of the page. But remember, you don't need to label your perspective view, so you can always select that and then... Yeah, sure. So make sure you don't have anything selected. So just press Escape twice if you're not sure, and then you should just be able to click and make sure that it highlights the tag, and then you can just drag it.
Can you make that line shorter? Yeah. So how
Yeah, to do that, you've got to select the view.
Okay, so
You've got to drag it onto a page, and then select it. Yep, that's it. So just click on the view, on the walls, on the actual... on the page.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it. Click on the view. Yep. Yeah, and then you see it. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay, but again, you don't need to label perspective, so a really good option there to remember is that you can always choose no title in properties, just to turn the title off altogether. And to give you a tip, design teachers hate those tags for a good reason. They're awful. Right, so I know it seems nice, it's labelling them for you and doing all that work, but they're ugly.
and you can see it.
Yeah,
You don't need.
that's right. That's it. So simpler, cleaner labels, and yeah, all this extra stuff is unnecessary. So, and design teachers will mark you down if you start putting these things all over your drawings. So cleaner is usually better. So that's it. I've got my 4 perspectives. I've also got 2 isometrics, but you know that I've got the other isometric views done as well. I've done the sections, done the plans. Any views that I've missed from the assignment? I think that's... Yeah. Yeah, well, there's one last thing. How to make PDFs. Okay, so now I can go to the, well, firstly, before that, notice how these are all unnamed. So make sure you give your sheets better names. So even if it's just as simple as plans.
Then do we go through and change them and put a different name as well?
Yes, yeah, you should do that. Yep. Yep.
What's this called? Bath and progress. Bathing space.
Yep. Excellent. Yep.
If you
Okay.
do that on one, will it change on all of them? Or do we have
Some things, also things like project will change for every sheet, but individual sheet names you've got to do individually. Yep. So, okay, so I don't mind if you use simple names though, like I've done here. But you have to do that before making your PDFs. So the very last step is then to, of course, save your files, but then go to print on the main menu, choose print again. Oh, just on the main menu, go to print, then print again. You can't get the main menu up, or yep. Yep. So that's all. So then, now in here you can choose Adobe PDF from the list of printed. At home you can't. So you remember last semester or last term, I talked about the other options you've got for PDF. If you don't have the Adobe suite, you can get other free PDF converters like Qt PDF and Primo. There are a few others.
It comes up with no views or sheets selected.
That's okay. No, we've got to look at that option, so we haven't done that yet. So just make sure you've got that Adobe PDF. Or below that, there's another one that you might need to use just for today, Microsoft Printer PDF, because the Adobe one's playing up. So Microsoft Printer PDF actually isn't as good, but at least it works. So what I'd recommend you do then is go to Setup down the bottom. Set your page size. So here we know it's A3 because that was the title block size. So here, A3. The other essential option is the zoom. So just click zoom and leave it 100%. Don't worry about all the other options. Usually you can just leave those and click OK. So it's really the page size and the zoom. Click OK. And then we want to do a preview to make sure everything's set up in at least in a basic way. So over on the left, under print range, you've got to make sure it's on current window. Then, if you couldn't before, you should be able to click the preview button. So click on that, and if it gives you any messages, just click close. You might not even see any, but if you do, just click close. And then you should see a preview of the page. And what you're looking for there is that the page or the title block fits onto your page border. So that fits almost perfectly, and that's good. Then to go back, I'm going to click the print button, the top left corner. Now I'm going to change this print range to selected views sheets, and then click on the select button. And this is where, yeah, that's right, but mine's not working, so I'm just going to have to cancel this and bring it up again, sorry, because you won't have to do that. No, this is just on my computer, it's playing up. Yeah, that's fine. No, I'm not so worried about it. The scale of the date should be automatic anyway, so that's okay. No, you can't. It's automatic. Yeah, so if it doesn't come up, then don't worry about it. because it's on your views anyway. Okay, so it's actually good that you're seeing this. What's happening there is that I'm getting an error from this PDF printer, and it could be my recording software as well, but no matter what I do, it's not working. So that does happen quite a bit with these PDF programs. And often the best way to resolve it is just to shut down Revit. The rendering's done. I'll come back to that. But then open it again. And that may fix it. If that still doesn't fix it, you've just got to restart your computer. And again, it's one of those known problems with these PDF creating programs. Apparently Adobe are onto it and they're fixing it, but I don't have to straight away. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing back to print. And so the setup there, sorry, I need to change first to the right printer, Microsoft Print to PDF, check the setup and choose A3, zoom, this is just what I did before. And now I'm not going to worry about previewing with the current window because I know that's okay. So I'll go just straight to selected views sheets. Then I'm going to click select, and this is what you should see. So we're going to turn views off down the bottom, and then it will just show my sheets. So it'll show all the sheets you've made without any of those other views getting in the way, as long as you only have sheets ticked but not views down the bottom. Now, I just need to click check all over on the right. And it's going to tick all of my sheets. So I don't have to go and tick each one. So just click that check all button. Click OK. If it asks you to save changes, just say no. Then, final option before creating your assignment is to choose this option here, combine multiple selected views into a single file. And that's it. I'm going to click OK. Again, if you get a message like this, just click close. And it's going to ask for a file name and a location, so I'm going to put that somewhere that I know and give it a name that I know. Bathroom, so bathing space. Final. There we go. So that will make a PDF file that's going to have everything in it. Exactly. Then you're done. So in CAD 2 now, I've got the PDF file that I just made because I know where I put it. So if I go and open that, then I can check to see all the pages. And you don't have to print it out. You can print it if you want to. You're welcome to print it. It's not a bad idea to see what things look like on the page. So there we are. So there's my PDF file with all my pages set up, and I can just flick through those.
If I print it on the colour option, then that print it in colour?
Yes. Yeah. It does. Yeah. Well, what happens? No. No. What you need? Yeah. It happens all the time. When you're printing it here, if you choose the one that says colour, you've still got to go into properties here, and then go to colour, and just turn that grayscale option off. Printing grayscale. Yep. Yes, sure. So I just want to show you, again, this has finished. And if you go to adjust exposure, just by right-clicking you can do that. In Internet Explorer, it doesn't work properly. So if you want to do that from the cloud, use a different browser. Okay, so do you know any other browsers apart from Internet Explorer? What's the other one I'm sure you all use? Firefox is good, yeah, Chrome's good. They both work. So Chrome and Firefox both let you adjust the exposure when you're rendering cloud. Internet Explorer doesn't. Just remember that. So, and this image, that would look really good if I adjusted the exposure, but that's unusable without doing that. Well, I think it's unusable. For this project, I'd be happy if you submit that, but later, when you start producing images like this, you'll definitely want that adjusted a lot in post. In other words, adjusting exposure. Otherwise, though, that should cover it. So, as long as you can make that PDF file, put it on Moodle, and you're done.